You're exhausted. Not just physically tired, but that deep, bone-level exhaustion where even lying down doesn't actually feel restful. You close your eyes at night, and your mind is still running. You sit down to watch something on television, and there's still this hum of tension sitting in your chest. You take a few days off work, and somehow you still feel wound up, like your body forgot how to switch off. And the worst part? You can't explain it to anyone because from the outside nothing looks wrong. You're functioning. You're showing up. But inside you feel like you're always bracing for something, always waiting for the next thing to go wrong, always carrying this invisible weight that nobody else seems to see. That feeling has a name. And once you understand what's actually happening inside your nervous system, everything changes. Here's what most people get completely wrong about stress. They think stress is just a thought or an emotion, something in your head, something you can logic your way out of. So they try meditating for 5 minutes or going for a walk or telling themselves to relax, and it helps for maybe 20 minutes. Then that tightness crawls back in, that restlessness returns, and they're back to feeling like something is fundamentally broken about them, like they just can't handle life the way other people seem to. But here's the truth, your stress isn't in your head, it's in your body, and more specifically, it's locked inside your nervous system. And until you understand how your nervous system works, nothing you try for stress will ever actually fix the root cause. Now, before I go deeper, because what I'm about to share gets very specific and very powerful, I want to mention that we have a program linked in the video description below. It's built around exactly what we're talking about here, and it goes significantly deeper than anything I can cover in a single video. Most people who need this information keep searching for answers in the wrong places. If that's been you, I'd suggest at least taking a look before you talk yourself out of it. Because the people who think they don't need support are usually the ones who need it most. Now, let's get into what's actually happening. Your nervous system has two main modes. Think of it like a car. You have a gas pedal and a brake. The gas pedal is your sympathetic nervous system. That's your stress response. That's the part of you that activates when there's a threat, real or perceived. Heart rate up, muscles tighten, breathing shallows, blood pressure rises, digestion slows. Your entire biology shifts into survival mode. The brake is your parasympathetic nervous system. That's your rest and recovery state. That's where healing happens, where digestion works properly, where sleep actually restores you, where your mind can be clear and calm and present. Here's the problem. In a healthy nervous system, these two systems balance each other. Stress happens, the gas pedal activates, you move through the challenge, the brake kicks in, and you recover. That's how it's supposed to work. Stress is a temporary response, not a permanent state. But for a lot of people, and I mean a lot, the brake stops working properly. The nervous system gets stuck in that high alert, high tension state. And it stays there, even when there's no actual threat, even when life is objectively fine, even when you're lying in bed trying to sleep. The body doesn't know how to come down. Scientists and researchers call this dysregulation, and the research on this is staggering. Studies have shown that chronic nervous system dysregulation is connected to everything from anxiety and depression to digestive problems, chronic pain, autoimmune conditions, hormonal imbalances, and sleep disorders. This isn't a fringe theory. This is decades of neuroscience and physiology research showing us that a dysregulated nervous system is one of the most damaging things that can happen to the human body long term. And here's what makes it feel so confusing and so isolating. A dysregulated nervous system doesn't always look like panic attacks or visible anxiety. Sometimes it looks like feeling constantly irritable for no reason. Sometimes it looks like emotional numbness, where you know logically that things are fine but you can't actually feel joy or peace. Sometimes it looks like that weird mix of being completely exhausted but unable to sleep. Sometimes it looks like snapping at the people you love most and then feeling horrible about it. Sometimes it looks like lying awake at 3 a.m. with your heart racing and your mind replaying conversations from 6 years ago. Does any of that feel familiar? Because if it does, your nervous system is trying to tell you something. It's not broken. It's actually doing exactly what it was designed to do. It learned at some point, through repeated stress, through difficult experiences, through prolonged pressure, that the world isn't safe to fully relax in. So it stopped letting you. It started staying vigilant, protective, ready. This is called the stress response becoming chronic. And the science behind it goes even deeper when you start looking at cortisol, which is your primary stress hormone. When your body perceives a threat, cortisol floods your system. This is helpful in the short term. Cortisol gives you energy, sharpens your focus, and prepares you to deal with a challenge. But when stress is constant, cortisol doesn't switch off. And long-term elevated cortisol does something alarming to your body. It starts to interfere with your sleep cycles, your immune function, your metabolism, your memory, and your mood. Research consistently shows that people with chronically high cortisol struggle to feel calm, even in genuinely peaceful environments, because their body has essentially been trained to stay in emergency mode. And this is the part that nobody talks about enough. The more time you spend in that state, the more normal it starts to feel. Your nervous system adapts to dysregulation. It starts treating tension as baseline. It starts treating anxiety as the default. So when you do have a moment of genuine peace, it actually feels wrong, suspicious, like something bad is about to happen. So you unconsciously create more noise, more worry, more stimulation, just to match what your body has learned to expect. This is why stress feels constant even when you're resting. It's not because you're weak. It's not because you're broken. It's because your nervous system learned a pattern, and without the right intervention, it will keep running that pattern on autopilot. The cost of staying here is enormous, and I want you to really sit with this for a moment, because this isn't just about feeling stressed. This is about your entire life. Research shows that people living in chronic nervous system dysregulation are significantly more likely to experience relationship breakdown, because the constant emotional reactivity puts an almost impossible strain on connection. They're significantly more likely to struggle professionally, not because they lack intelligence or talent, but because their cognitive function is genuinely impaired by the physiological state they're stuck in. Memory suffers. Decision-making suffers. Creativity suffers. Emotional availability suffers. And physically, the long-term consequences include increased risk of cardiovascular disease, metabolic disorders, and accelerated aging at the cellular level. There's a body of research showing that chronic psychological stress is associated with shorter telomere length, which is essentially a biological marker of aging. Stress isn't just making you feel bad, it's making you older, faster. Now here's where this gets hopeful. Because everything I've just described, all of it, is reversible. Your nervous system has something called neuroplasticity, the ability to change, adapt, and learn new patterns, the same way it learned to stay in a state of constant alert. It can learn to come back to safety, to regulation, to rest. But it doesn't happen through willpower. It doesn't happen through positive thinking. And it definitely doesn't happen through ignoring the problem and hoping it goes away. Because the people who try that approach spend years, sometimes decades, managing symptoms instead of addressing the source. And the cost of that in time, in health, in relationships, in missed experiences, in the version of yourself you never fully got to be, that cost is devastating. The people who actually shift this do it through understanding the mechanism and then working with the body, not just the mind. They use specific, evidence-based approaches that directly signal safety to the nervous system. They work with the physiological patterns that maintain dysregulation, not just the thoughts that result from it. And the changes they experience aren't just emotional. They're physical, relational, cognitive, and deeply transformational. People who genuinely regulate their nervous systems describe it as waking up. Like they'd been living behind glass their whole lives, watching life happen at a slight distance, and suddenly they're actually in it. They describe sleeping through the night for the first time in years. They describe feeling patient with their children in moments that used to make them explode. They describe being able to sit quietly without that relentless inner noise. They describe feeling present during meals, during conversations, during moments that used to just blur past because they were too wired to notice them. They describe feeling like themselves again, some for the first time in a very long time. That's not a small thing. That's everything. And here's what I want you to understand. The information available on this topic, the real, deep, mechanistic understanding of how to actually shift nervous system patterns, is not widely accessible. Most people stumble through years of trial and error. Trying things that help a little, falling back, trying again, getting results that don't stick because they were addressing symptoms, not the source. You don't have to keep doing that. The program linked in the video description below exists for exactly this reason. It's built on the science we've been discussing today, and it goes far beyond the surface-level information most people are working with. If you've been carrying this exhaustion for a long time, and something about what I've said today is resonating somewhere deep in you, I want you to trust that feeling. Don't think your way out of it. Don't tell yourself you'll look into it later. Later is what got you here. The people who take action now, even imperfect action, are the ones who end up looking back in 3 months completely unrecognizable from where they started. The description is right there. The next version of you is waiting,